Up Close, he has the best winning percentage among active pitchers and a contract extension that rewards him for such. Three-time All-Star Mike Mussina discusses his and the Orioles' fast start. He'll also tell us about his painful connection to the tragedy of TWA Flight 800. Mike Mussina on Cal settling in at third, playing for Davey, and how far the Orioles can go this year. Up Close is up next.
From the ESPN studios in Los Angeles, here's Chris Myers.
Hi, how you doing? And welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Our guest today has been a 19-game winner in back-to-back seasons, and this season he's helped the Orioles compile the league's best record in the American League. We welcome Mike Mussina. Nice to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me.
How would you explain the fast start for the Orioles?
Well, I think we've done a few changes and made a few moves and improved ourselves defensively. And additions of Jimmy Key and Mike Bordick, Eric Davis, and players like that have just created a decent atmosphere, and we just seem to be playing well.
When you say decent atmosphere, Mike, let's talk about better than last year. Are there players that were there last year that were negative for the clubhouse?
No, I don't think anybody was negative. I think the blend this year is a little better. The way the people meld or mesh together is better this year than it was last year, and I think there wasn't as much changeover. Last year we had an entirely new coaching staff, new manager, and this year isn't like that. And I think from the very beginning of spring training we just get along better, and we associate better with each other, and it's helped us play better baseball.
And that does reflect on the field. Pat Gillick, general manager, said that this is a group of just baseball players, some of the more professional, in fact, the most professional group he's been around. What do you think he means by that?
Well, I think he means that the group that comes to the ballpark solely focuses on what it takes to win the ball game, what they can do that particular day to help the team win. And sometimes things happen that get people off that focus and get players focusing on other things. But I think this team, for whatever reason, seems to be solely concerned about winning ball games. What
is the clubhouse like with the Orioles? We hear that some play you go in, there's music blaring, different kinds of music. People, is this does it sound as businesslike in there?
I don't think it sounds as businesslike as people would think. When it's time to play the game, we focus in and play the ball game, but it's a long season. You spend almost 8 months together every day, so you have to have your enjoyment, and you have to be able to let loose once in a while, and our team seems to be able to do that when it's necessary, when it's appropriate, and when it's time to go play ball, we go do that.
How comfortable are you pitching now with the contract taken care of? Signing the extension for in excess of $20 million, 3 years, takes you beyond the year 2000.
Well, the extension was something that we were working on for a long time, and it's something that I wanted to do. I felt right doing it. I really wasn't interested in going anywhere else to play, and we were able to work the deal out, and I guess being a free agent means you have freedom of choice of what you want to do and where you want to play, and I just would rather play in Baltimore than anywhere else right now in my career, and that's what I decided to do.
There was a time during negotiations when there were some problems, and the owner, Peter Angelos, stepped in. Can you tell us how he made the difference?
Well, I'm not sure there were any real problems. The conversations every time we spoke was very civil and very casual, so that there was never any negative feelings either way. It's just things slowed down. They were worrying about doing Cal's contract, and now they're trying to do Brady's, and looking forward to some other people after the year's over and in the next year. But it's just something that sometimes you need the right moment and the right timing, and that was pretty much all it was, that they wanted to get Cal done and then do mine.
Did you ever feel the deal wouldn't get done, that you might not be an Oriole?
Well, I think there's always that feeling, but...
And how was that in your mind when you had to deal with the reality, the possibility that could happen?
Well, it was a very serious reality for a period of time, but it really didn't bother me. I think this is a business, and the job is to go out there and pitch, and I was able to go out there and do that while we were still talking a little bit on the side. So when it came right down to it, I really didn't think it was bothering me, but at the time I felt it was a good time to get it done.
Some critical about the amount of money you got for the numbers you've put up, that you could have gotten more. Tom Glavine, one pitcher or one player in baseball who said you really should have done better, that you maybe brought down the pay scale for some other people. What do you think about that?
Well, the deal was done not to focus on a pay scale. I mean, I sacrificed some to stay in Baltimore and play for the Orioles. But as far as free agent pay scale goes, I think every person's an individual and every situation is different. So how I affect somebody else, I really don't think it applies here, because I did what I did for the purpose of staying in Baltimore and being close to home and playing where I feel comfortable. And that's the reason the deal got done, and that doesn't really affect anybody else. So
you sacrificed maybe some more dollars somewhere else to stay in Baltimore. Free agency, going out on the market, isn't that something that you would have liked to have experienced at least a little bit, even if you know that you wanted to come back to the Orioles?
Well, I could have gone out and experienced it and you know, tried and see what happens, but it wasn't the case that I felt like that was what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go out and tease everybody thinking that okay, if you offer me this amount of money, I'll go there. And somebody might jump out and offer me an unbelievable amount of money, and I end up in a city that I really didn't want to play in. So I wanted to play in Baltimore, and I did it.
Is your personality better suited for Baltimore?
Well, I think so. I grew up in a small town. I've always lived in a small town. I live in the same town I grew up in the off season. Baltimore is not a New York or a Los Angeles or a Chicago, and I just enjoy the town. It's the only organization I've ever been in, the only town I've ever played in, and I just feel comfortable staying there. I'm not big on changing things a lot, and that's why I like it.
Unless you're changing pitches, or at least part of your repertoire. Off to a good start, 5-1 this year, the ERA at 3.68. If we take a look at the numbers since '92, consistent winner, but look at the ERA, and last year winning 19 games with an ERA at 4.81. How would you categorize '96, Mike, as a year for you in your own words?
'96 was a struggle, for the best way to describe it. I really never got into any kind of consistent flow. Most times on the mound, I didn't feel comfortable. I won 19 games. I could have easily lost 19 games. I got a lot of run support. The guys played great behind me and helped me out considerably. The bullpen was great. Every time I left the game, it was 6-5 sometimes, and they would come in and hold, and I'd get a win. So it's kind of deceiving in the fact that I won 19, but in my own mind, I didn't pitch very well at all.
Just a thought, not an excuse, but on the offense, the kind of year that the Orioles had last year, the kind of offensive production we saw in baseball, are you a believer in the livelier ball theory?
Well, I think the ball's pretty lively. I'm not going to say that that's the reason that so many runs are being scored. I think players are stronger, better athletes. Parks are a little more conducive to hitting now, I think. Fans want to come out and see runs being scored, and 7-6 games, and I want to see a 3-2 game, but I'm not buying the tickets and watching the game. So I think that's the way the game is right now, and you're just going to have to accept it. But I won't accept having a 4-8 every year.
All right, later we'll talk about where it began for Mike Mussina, his pitching career. But when we continue, we'll talk about tragedy hitting close to home. Mike Mussina discussing his sorrowful connection with TWA Flight 800.
Up Close is brought to you by Motel 6. The new Motel 6 is renovating across America. Call 1-800-4-MOTEL-6 for reservations. And by Taco Bell. Craving a little more taste? Crunch into the irresistible taste of a Taco Bell taco.
This is not a TV show. This could be you. What would happen to your family? Where would the money come from? For the mortgage, for your kids' education, to live on. But this is a commercial. There is something you can do. Life insurance. It isn't for the people who die. It's for the people who live.
Hush Puppies. We invented casual. Available at Nordstrom.
The ultimate in extended stays. You get a chamber filled with untold treasure and servants to keep you company. Problem is, to stay there, you gotta be dead. So maybe you'd prefer something a little livelier. Like the new Motel 6. We're renovating nationwide and filling our chambers with lots of little treasures too. All for what's still the best price of any national chain. The new Motel 6 makes you glad to be alive.
It now appears that Shaq is suffering from a neck injury.
Of course we're concerned. That's one valuable neck.
Shaq is suffering from taco neck syndrome, TNS. It's caused by his craving for delicious Taco Bell tacos. And he's getting worse with every neck-bending bite.
There's nothing funny about TNS.
It's not natural.
It's a conspiracy, man.
Get some more of those tacos.
On July 17th, 230 people were killed when TWA Flight 800 crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of New York. Among those on board were 16 students and 5 adults from Montoursville High School in Pennsylvania. Orioles pitcher Mike Mussina lives in Montoursville and over the last 4 years has worked as a coach for the school, and we're talking up close with Mike Mussina. You were with the team on the road with the Oriole team when this took place. How did you receive the terrible news?
We were playing a home game. Night game, and we were flying to Boston. So got on the plane, we flew up to Boston. I got to the hotel maybe 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning. The light was on the phone. I got my message. It was my brother calling, said that something happened on a flight from New York and that supposedly these people from Montoursville were on the flight. And I was sitting there going, I can't understand this, because why would there be anybody from Montoursville on a flight out of New York going to Paris? So I turned on television, watched the news for a while. Saw some tidbits and some highlights, because that was obviously the biggest thing they were covering that evening, and that's basically how I found out about it.
And you, obviously, it's your hometown. You grew up, you were born near there, grew up there, still live in the area, and active with the school. How closely did you know any of the 16 students or adults that were on that flight?
I knew a handful of students. I went to high school with a brother of one of them. My brother went to high school with a brother of one of them. I coached one of the students football and basketball, so you know, I knew the secretary, I knew the French teacher, things like that. So it was difficult for a while.
Was it was it shock, disbelief? Do you say why when you hear about something like this that comes out of nowhere?
Well, I was still amazed trying to figure out what people from my hometown were doing flying from New York to Paris. Because that's just not something that happens every day from where I come from. So
it turned out they were French students.
It was a French class on a trip they do once every other year, and so it was just a situation where I was away, I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and this happens at home. And you know, there's only 6,000 people in my town, so it greatly affects a lot of people, because one way or another, you're connected to just about everybody.
How important was it for you to attend the funeral services?
Well, it was important for me, I think, to get back there, the opportunity that I had, just to show that although I wasn't around, that I still wish that I was there, and there's nothing I could really do. You're powerless in that situation, but I think just being there and showing my support was the best way that I could do that. Did you have trouble pitching, concentrating on your job after hearing the news with your next turn in the rotation? Probably a little bit. The next couple of turns, it was just strange knowing that I'm having this opportunity coming from that small town to do what I'm doing, and all these kids were doing was getting one chance maybe in a lifetime to get on this trip. And some of those kids had never been on an airplane before, and it's just it was really tough to imagine that coming out of the town that I come out of, that these kids are in a once in a lifetime opportunity, and this happens. So for a while it was hard, and I think things are slowly getting better.
It is a close-knit, small town. How do you help the grieving process?
There's really not much I can do. I'm not around often enough to really do anything. It's just a situation where the community had to get together and really help each other out, and I did what I could in that respect. And I've been really impressed with the way they've handled it with everybody from the whole state of Pennsylvania, the city of New York, the whole country, the whole world, because the town was on television every night, and that's really not the way you want your small town to be on television. But everything was great, and people are getting better, and it's never going to be the same. But
yeah, I was going to ask you, has it changed things forever there? And,
oh, I'm sure it's changed things forever. It will never be the same. But the small town, it'll come around. Montoursville will be Montoursville again soon, just not completely.
And life has to go on for those that are still there. You're active again in coaching. You coached football last winter, not basketball, after 3 years of coaching basketball. Why not coach baseball there?
Well, it's kind of difficult to coach baseball because Pennsylvania baseball season's in April, May, that time of the year, and I'm already playing. I enjoy football. I played obviously when I was in high school. Right. I played basketball when I was in high school, so I enjoy coaching immensely. Just to help one kid a little bit, maybe make him a little better person, or a little better athlete. I enjoy doing that, and maybe when I'm done playing, I'll get into coaching baseball.
That is something you would consider?
Oh, sure, I would consider it. I would definitely consider it, especially at that level. I enjoy working with the kids, but I'm not sure baseball would be my first choice. I'd probably rather coach basketball, but we'll have to see when that time comes.
Does it help you relate at all, being the coach with younger players, to managers, coaches that you deal with on the professional level?
Well, I think the two situations are a little bit different. At the professional level, you're working with grown men, and in our case, and when I'm coaching high school kids, they're still in those teenage years. They're making adjustments in their lives, and they have a lot of things to worry about for the first time. So I think it's a little bit different, but I enjoy it, and you get to see a little bit of the other side of it that I didn't experience until I get into it.
We're talking with Oriole pitcher Mike Mussina. He's won 19 games the last 2 seasons, on a roll with the O's so far this season. We'll talk about how he learned to pitch in his early days, where he learned to pitch in his College World Series days at Stanford. We're up close with Mike Mussina, the O's. We'll have more in a moment.
Music Express, voted #1 by the National Limousine Association, has offices in Los Angeles and on the East Coast. Music Express can handle your corporate needs anywhere in the U.S. and worldwide. And guests of Up Close stay at the Beverly Prescott, L.A.'s premier boutique hotel. Call your travel agent to make reservations at the Beverly Prescott, a Kimpton hotel.
What's extreme? 6,000 horsepower. 318 miles an hour down the quarter mile in 4.5 seconds. John Ford, Kenny Bernstein, Jim Yates. The sound, the smoke, the action, the speed, the fun. That's extreme. Mopar Parts Nationals, May 15th through the 18th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster. Everything else is just slow motion.
Riedman Continuous Auto Show for sale or lease cars, trucks, American and imports 12 franchised makes. Riedman new Chevrolets, Oldsmobiles, products of General Motors, cars, trucks, minivans, sport utilities. Riedman new Chryslers, Plymouths, Dodge, cars, trucks. Riedman Voyagers, Caravans. Riedman new Lincolns, Mercurys, Continentals, new Jaguars, and pre-owned Select Edition Jaguars. For sale or lease 2,500 new and used cars and trucks. Riedman Auto Mall, Route 1, Langhorne, Pennsylvania.
Seniors head into the Garden State, where top tour players pair up with NFL superstars. And Al Del Greco shoots for a 5th consecutive title, the Cadillac NFL Golf Classic. Coverage continues tomorrow at 5:30 on ESPN.
Later on, SportsCenter, will the Knicks be hot under the collar when the Heat's turned up for Game 6? After a month to cool off, can Tiger regain that championship fire? And will the doors soon open for Cart's return to Indy? Join us for SportsCenter at 6:30 Eastern.
We're up close with Mike Mussina of the O's, born in '68, the year of pitching dominance in Major League Baseball at the age of 4. He was bouncing a rubber ball against a wall, imitating pitchers that he saw on television. Who were those pitchers, Mike?
Oh, shoot, 4 years old. I really don't know. Most of the guys I got to watch where I grew up were Yankees or Phillies. A little older, like Guidry, Carlton, Catfish Hunter, those kind of players. So. And with whoever I saw on Saturday or Sunday on games of the week from other cities, but you know, I just enjoyed doing it, and you know, as a youngster, trying to pretend that you're out there, and I just kept doing it all season. So I got to throw baseball from April till September.
Do you still imitate pitchers when you're out there?
No, not too much anymore. I think I've put together a lot of little bits of a lot of people to come up with what I use, and
who are you most, would you say?
I really don't know. I've got a little of a lot of people in there, so I don't think there's any one person that I have the most of, but it's just the way I developed my style and my form, and it just works.
In your repertoire, you have at least 2 pitches that you created on your own. Would you tell us about those, if we can shape them on your own?
Well, growing up where I grew up, I didn't really learn how to throw a curveball until I really needed to. So I was in high school before I could ever throw one, so I could throw knuckleballs messing around, so I started making the ball spin more, throwing knuckle curves. So it's something I kept working with, and all of a sudden I was able to use it effectively in games, and that's where that came from. And then I went to college and developed a changeup, and it's been very effective pitch for me ever since I got to the major leagues. And once in a while I still go out there and make stuff up in the middle of the game when things are going bad, or I just don't think I have very much command of my usual stuff. I'll make things up and see if I can get people out with it.
And at Stanford, 25-12, the record, and the College World Series experience. So what do you take most from your pitching days at Stanford?
Well, I enjoyed pitching at Stanford. I loved college, and it was a great experience. I would do it all over again if I had to make the same decision. You meet new people, and you get that experience of playing in front of larger crowds that I didn't have in high school, and you know, to get to the World Series and experience that was the ultimate in what you want to do as a college athlete. So, you know, we won the series my freshman year, and we finished. We lost in the semis my junior year, so it was a great experience, and I enjoyed it immensely.
And graduated in 3.5 years, degree in economics. Wrote your thesis, is this true, in one day, and got a B+ on it.
Well, I don't know if we should be saying that on television, but yes, I wrote the topic was the economics of baseball.
Oh, well, that's easy then.
Well, it was signing out of high school versus signing after college. So I interviewed athletic directors and coaches and did some research on baseball and signing bonuses and things like that. And so I had all this in front of me, and then the knowledge that I had been experienced with from high school up to that point. So I sat down and was able to piece it together and just kind of plowed through it, alternating computer time with my roommate, because we were both working on our papers at the same time. So I'd write for an hour and take a break, and he'd write for an hour. And so that's the way I did it, and got it done in one day.
Got a good grade, and that's where the homework really paid off. All right, we'll continue with Mike Mussina, talk more about the O's fast start, and about Cal moving over to third, how that may have actually helped the defense of Baltimore. Don't go away.
Pantalon.
Both pantaloons. Both pantaloons. Both pantaloons. Both pantaloons.
Hey, she says nice pants.
There's a million for
Dockers, khakis.
Today, I'm going to meetings in Paris, Prague, and Toledo without leaving my chair. The world is evolving and connecting at the same time. You don't even need an office. If you can think it, you can go do it in absolute full digital color. There are more ideas inside of Kinko's today than in any office space in America. Sometimes I go just to be with people.
Hi, Howard.
Every day, over 200,000 businesses use Kinko's, the new way to office.
In Greenville, North Carolina, Mike and Lawrence really had a blast with bicycle vert champ, Mr. Dave Mira. Say hi to the folks, Dave. That's right, Dave. You're number one. When it comes to riding the vert ramp, Dave really wails. He gets so high, you get the feeling he could have a salami sandwich while he's up there. But wipe out here, and your insides come out looking like a Twist-O-Flex watch band. Look, Mom, no spleen.
The X Games, coming in June.
Hope you'll be with us next week here on Up Close. We'll be talking to some of the players and the coaches involved in the NBA playoff run. Also next week on the show, more baseball. Tom Glavine of the Braves joins us to tell us if Atlanta can get back to the series and win it this time. Up next, more with Orioles ace Mike Mussina. Stay with us.
It's Subaru all-wheel drive days. Now is the time to hit the ground running. Pick up a Subaru Outback, the world's first sport utility wagon, or its younger cousin, the Outback Sport. Like every Subaru, you'll get the rugged traction and control of all-wheel drive, so you can grab the road when you hit the road. It's Subaru all-wheel drive days.
Check out the full line of all-wheel drive cars from Subaru, including my Outback.
You kicked it off with Jock Rock. You scored with Jock Jams. Now, ESPN and Tommy Boy Music strike again with Slam Jams. Slam Jams, the greatest collection of new wave party jams. Slam Jams pulls you out of your seat and takes you one step beyond. Slam Jams, rocking your world at record stores now.
Tomorrow night, the Red Wings look to even the series in Colorado, but Joe Sakic and the Avalanche are shooting for the 2-game lead. Detroit takes on Colorado tomorrow night at 7:30 as the Stanley Cup playoffs continue.
Give me much shots of that Sakic character.
Our remaining moments with Mike Mussina of the Orioles, the best record in the American League. He touched on some of the personnel and defensive improvements. Cal Ripken, after all that he's done at shortstop, moving over to third base, Mike Bordick stepping in at short. How has that change things in the infield?
I think it's changed a few things. I think Cal moving to third base, given enough time, he could be one of the very best third basemen in the league. He's very gifted athletically. He's a smart player. Bordick is amazing at shortstop. He's got very good hands, unbelievable range. He seems to get the balls that I'm just expecting the left fielder to throw in from left field, and he gets a glove on it. Everybody's told me that he was going to be that way, and I've really seen, great things from him, and I expect him to stay that way as long as he's in Baltimore.
And with the success that Erickson, Key, you have had, and the Orioles off to the outside, Ray Miller helping out as the pitching coach. Davey Johnson, here a guy, he's won wherever he's been, whether it's been the Mets, Reds, Orioles. What can you tell us about playing for Davey that maybe we wouldn't catch on the surface?
I don't know if I've ever sat down and tried to analyze Davey. I think last year he came in a situation, it was a new organization, a little different for him, a little pressure on him, so things were a little strange for him last year. This year, things have been running without any problems at all, no hints of anything, and we've been playing really good baseball. And he just seems to just put the players on the field, put them where they're supposed to be, and they perform for him, and that's what you want to have a manager, and that's what he's been doing. He's been doing a great job.
All right, our last 20 seconds. Eric Davis, who played on the world champion Reds on your team, said, hey, this is the best team he's ever played on. You have to prove that, of course. What are the Orioles' chances of winning the World Series?
Well, I think we have a very good chance to do some nice things, but we've only played 30-some games, and it's going to be a long year. So if we can keep pitching the way we've been pitching and keep hitting, we're going to be good.
Okay, thanks for coming by. All right, keep up the good work. Appreciate Mike Mussina being with us. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week up close.